Hey there, how's it going? So in this video I'm going to do a little project on fixed weight data format. According to IBM, the fixed weight data format is basically a data format where every field has a fixed weight, right? So you can go on here and read on it. So I've got this fixed weight data here, and as you can see, we have the ID, we have age. If I go to my code, so I've read this data as RDD, and so each column has a particular fixed weight. For example, ID has 6, age has 2, first name 10, and so on. So this is what the data looks like when you read it. So I'm going to convert this data into a data frame. Without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I need to do is create a schema. Columns map equal to, so I'm going to map this column and create a schema out of it. So columns dot map then to create a schema you need struct field, right? Struct field, and the first argument is basically the column name, and the type, which is in this case I will be sticking with a string type, and non-label I will say true for all of the column. So I will convert this to array, and now create my schema. Var schema equal to struct type, then the columns map. Now we've created our schema. So the second step is to basically divide each of these rows into their specific columns, right? So I'm going to use recursion here. I did a video on how to use fold left earlier. I think using recursion is a good way. Like generally you can use recursion in Scala, you can use it in Python and any other language. So I'm going to stick with recursion here. So I'm going to use tail recursion. So let me define a recursion function called fixed weight to df. So this fixed weight to df is going to take the data weight list, and it's going to take the row. I'm going to name it a single row, right? So it's going to take each of these rows, right, and split them to their specific columns. So I'll call it single row or just row, and what I want to return is so I'm going to have an accumulator, since this is a tail recursion function. So I'm going to call this accumulator accum, and what I want to store in the accumulator is a list of string. So this accumulator will basically return my list and as the list of the columns, right? Columns data, and this function is going to return a spark row or RDD row. So now you have to import the row as well. So the data we start is list of integer, and row is string. Now what I want to do is loop through this list, data width list. So I'm going to say data width match. So we're going to have case head and tail. Head, tail. So head will be the first element in the first iteration, right? Iteration of the list, which in this case is 6, and tail will be the rest of the elements. So my logic here is, if the row, right, the row length is less than or equal to head, I want to basically split the string, basically return the substring from 0 to that head size, right, to that width size. So this is it. So if row dot length is less than or equal to head, in this case 6, so if that is the case, I'm going to first of all define let's call it this one, column data equal to empty. Initially the column data is empty, right? So if this is the case here, I want to say column data equal to row, the data row dot substring from 0 to head, right? So it's going to say, for example, this is what we have, just this ID, right? So it's going to take it from 0 to this point, right? So, and to make this function recursive, you have to call this function inside itself. So fixed width to df. Then in the next iteration, what we want to have is the tail and a new string. So if for this condition, we will say the new row will be empty, and we want to return the column data append it to accumulator. So this is what we want to return. But in a case where the row dot length is greater than the weight, as if row dot length is greater than head. So for example, in this case we have row dot the length of the row as I think it's about 51. So if I go back here, so if I say here, so it's about 49, right? So in that case, if the length of the row is greater than h, in this case that is true because h here is 6. So if that length is greater than h, what we want to do is we want to say column data equal to row dot substring from, so we start from 0 to h. In this case it should be just 0. Say for example we have just one data left, right? So it will start from the beginning to whatever the end of that data. But in this case we are still splitting it, right? Say this ID, so if we split from 0 to this end of this ID, right, we're basically splitting from here, this is 0 to the end of this ID, and we call this function again fixed width to df, return tail, and so here in this case now we are returning the remaining string. So row dot substring, So here we are returning the remaining string. So from 0 to 6, right, we have this, and the remaining string will be from H, which is the number 6, from H here, the head, so whatever the net of the remaining string. So in this case we are returning from this point to the rest of the data, and our new list will be column data outcome. So we are adding to that list. So that is basically the logic. Otherwise we just say, okay, we just call fixed width to df horizontal. We say, okay, the returning string, okay, there is nothing in the string again. We say that is empty, and column data also is empty. So so this is the case that is matching, that is basically matching the elements of that list. The final case will be underscore. So what we want to return is the accumulator, right? But this is giving us issue here, because here we stated that we want to return row. So to solve this, we say row dot from sequence outcome. So we are returning this outcome, right? Okay, now our logic completed, right? The next thing we need to do is basically pass this row into this function, right? To do that, we say okay, now data list equal to, so that will be fixed with rdd dot map. So we want to map this rdd, right? And we want to say data, or just say row instead of data. So each row, right, we want to call this recursive function, which is fixed width to df. So we want to call this recursive function in each of this row, basically pass that row into this function to perform that recursive operation, basically to split the data into columns. And so the first thing is the weight, data weight, and the second thing is the row. So we make it a string, and then the last thing is basically the initial value of the accumulator. In this case, we say the accumulator is empty. So list dot empty. So let's print this data list. So let's say print line data list dot collect dot to list. Let's run this. Okay, as you can see, right, we've got this fixed width data split into columns. So we got sale manager 80,000 J do blah 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 John. You can see here the spaces are coming, and also this because we are basically, when we are performing splitting here, right, we are basically so we are getting the initial row, right, data. We are appending it or prepending it. So basically the data are reversed. So we need to, they are in the other way around, so we need to reverse them. So to fix that, we need to say dot reverse, and here we can see these extra spaces coming, right? The reason for these extra spaces, like for example, right, in our width, right, for example, we say the first name is 10, and here it's the first name is just 4 columns, and these spaces are counted as part of the the letters or characters. So that's why it's coming with the extra spaces. What you need to do is basically trim those spaces away. So we say here dot trim, and here as well dot trim. So now we should get this data in the right order. Okay, now this data are in the right order. So we got the ID, the age, the first name, last name, initial, salary, and job title. So you can see how these data are correctly split. So the next thing is to convert it to data frame. So to do that, we say but first of all, I want to show you how this operation is going under the hood. So if I now print a data string or row, you will see. So if I run it here, okay, so you can see, right, in the first iteration, this is the first data, right? So here it splitted the ID away, and the returning the rest of the data string is from this 25, the age, to this end, and the second one is splitted the 25 away, then return the remaining row or the remaining string, and the third one is from split this John away and return from Doe, then splitted the last name Doe away and return J. So that is how the recursion happens to every row in that RDD. So alright, the next step is basically to create a data frame. So here we use Spark session dot create data frame. So to create our data frame, we are going to use data list, then our schema which we created earlier. So let's say dot show false. Alright, let's run this again. Now we have successfully converted our fixed width data to a data frame. The ID, the age, the first name, last name, initial, salary, and job title. So that is how you can do work with this type of data. Yeah, that is it for this little project or little video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and leave a comment. Have a lovely day, and goodbye.